Have you ever allowed a single moment of anger to ruin an entire day? One insult, one rude remark, and suddenly you're hijacked by emotion, thrown off balance, and saying things you later wish you hadn't. Why does it seem like we lose all control when emotions flare? And more importantly, how do we take that control back? The Stoics taught that the true battlefield isn't other people or outside circumstances. It's your own mind. They believed power doesn't lie in reacting louder or harsher, but in not reacting at all. It's in choosing calm over chaos, in refusing to give away your peace to someone unworthy of it. This video will show you exactly how to never get angry or upset with anyone or anything again. Not by suppressing your feelings, but by rewiring how you respond. You'll discover actionable, battle-tested Stoic techniques to help you pause before reacting, detach from what doesn't serve you, and master your emotions like a warrior of the mind. You're not weak for struggling. You're human. Every man has felt the heat of anger and the sting of disrespect, but very few ever learn to rise above it. That's where your change begins. So if you're tired of being emotionally hijacked, this is for you. Like this video, subscribe for more Stoic strategies, and share it with someone who needs their peace back. Because once you truly understand Stoicism, you don't just manage anger, you become untouchable. And that changes everything. Here's the first reframe. Emotional outbursts are habits you can unlearn. You weren't born angry. You weren't born snapping at drivers in traffic, slamming doors, or replaying harsh words in your mind for hours. Those reactions, what feel automatic now, were learned, picked up through years of stress, pride, and a world constantly telling men they must be tough, loud, and dominant. But here's the truth. Real strength isn't loud. It's quiet. And the most powerful man in the room is the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't bark back, and doesn't let his peace be disturbed by small things. Anger isn't just a feeling. It's a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. But first, you have to see it for what it really is. A chain reaction that only keeps going because you feed it. Someone cuts you off. Your boss talks down to you. Your partner says something sharp. And before your brain catches up, your mouth fires. That's the cycle. Most men stay trapped in it for their entire lives, believing it's just who they are. But the Stoics saw it differently. They didn't see anger as part of your personality. They saw it as a weakness in disguise. Epictetus once said, "Any person capable of anger is a slave to it." Harsh but true. When you react blindly, you give your power away to the very thing that triggered you. You become predictable, easy to manipulate, and emotionally drained. Now picture this. You're standing in line at the DMV. You've already been waiting an hour. Someone cuts right in front of you, bold as day. You feel it rising. Tight chest, clenched jaw, that urge to snap back. That moment, right there, that's your battlefield. You can either fight the same old war you always lose, or you can pause and ask one simple question. Will getting angry make this better? You already know the answer. You've lived the answer. You've lashed out before, and what did it give you? Nothing but more stress, more regret, and more distance from the man you're trying to become. This is where Stoicism shifts everything. You don't need to suppress your feelings. You need to step outside them. Watch them like clouds drifting across the sky. Acknowledge them, but don't let them drive. The mind, the rational self, that's the driver. That's the power the Stoics built through discipline. Most men go through life thinking their anger is justified, that it's proof they care, that staying calm means weakness or apathy. But it's the opposite. Anyone can explode. That's easy. What's hard, what takes discipline, maturity, and true backbone, is staying composed when everything around you tries to shake you. When someone disrespects you, and you don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you flinch, that's dominance. When life throws chaos your way and you remain still, that's control. So what should you do the next time that fire rises in your chest? You pause. You breathe. You remind yourself, this anger is a habit. I don't need to wear it anymore. Then you walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you've grown too strong to waste energy on things that don't deserve it. You're not here to be triggered. You're here to take your power back. And that starts not with the world changing, but with you choosing to respond differently. Respond like a man who owns his mind. Respond like a Stoic. 2. Control yourself instead of trying to control others. It's easy to explode, easy to raise your voice, throw a jab, or storm out of the room. That's what most men do when they feel disrespected, lash out to grab some fleeting sense of power. But that kind of power is fake. It burns hot, fades fast, and always leaves you feeling weaker than before. Real control never comes from dominating someone else. It comes from mastering yourself in the heat of the moment. Anger tricks you. It tells you that if you don't react, you're weak. That if someone pushes you, you have to push back harder. That silence is surrender. But think back. How many times has getting angry actually solved anything? You yell, and the other person yells louder. You win the argument, but lose the relationship. You prove your point, but lose sleep over what you said. And in the end, you feel drained. Because you were never in control. You were just reacting. Now imagine this. You're in a meeting at work. Your manager criticizes your idea in front of everyone. Unfairly, maybe even arrogantly. You feel the heat rising. Every part of you wants to fire back, defend yourself, shut him down. But something inside you stops. A voice says, if I react now, I'll only make this worse. So you pause. You breathe. You say, thanks for the feedback. I'll revisit it. Then you move on. Later, in private, you speak with clarity, not emotion. That is control. That is strength. And that is Stoic. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The Stoics didn't let pride run the show. They believed in response over reaction, clarity over chaos. They understood something most men still don't. Trying to control other people is a losing game. The only thing you can truly control, and always could, is how you choose to show up. The mistake most men make is believing silence is weakness, that walking away makes you less of a man. But think about the last time someone lost it in front of you. Did you respect them more? Or did they lose power in your eyes? Rage is loud, but respect is quiet. When you remain calm in the face of provocation, you become untouchable. And that unsettles people far more than shouting ever could. The Stoic path doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you choose how and when to speak, on your terms, not your angers. When you delay your reaction, let the emotion pass before you act, you create space. And in that space, you find wisdom. You make better choices. You keep your self-respect intact. So next time someone disrespects you, don't take the bait. Let them act small. You stay solid. Not because you're afraid to respond, but because you're choosing not to fall into their storm. You rise above it, not for them, but for yourself. That's what control really looks like. It's not about having the last word. It's about having the last piece. So start today. Don't try to control the room. Control your breath, your words, your face, your energy. You'll walk out of every conflict with something most men never have. Your dignity untouched. And that's a win no one can take from you. 3. Build calm like a muscle through daily practice. You can't expect to stay calm in chaos if you've never practiced calm in silence. That's the part most men miss. They wait until they're angry, disrespected, or overwhelmed. and only then try to control themselves. But emotional strength doesn't show up on command. It's trained. It's earned. It's built in the quiet moments when no one's watching. Just like your body won't grow stronger without consistent training, your mind won't suddenly stay steady under pressure unless you've been working on it daily. Self-mastery isn't a switch you flip. It's a skill you forge. Think about a man who's never touched weights, suddenly walking into a gym and trying to lift 300 pounds. He gets crushed. The same goes for your emotions. If you never train yourself to pause, to breathe, to sit with discomfort instead of reacting, then the first time life hits you hard, you fold. Not because you're weak, but because you're untrained. Now imagine this. You're home after a long day. Your kid spills juice on your laptop. Instinct fires. You want to yell. But something clicks. You've been working on this. Instead of reacting, you pause. You breathe. You say, let's clean it up. That moment feels small, but it's not. That's a representative. That's strength in action. And that rep will carry you through much bigger storms. Stoicism isn't a philosophy for monks on mountains. It was built for real life, for soldiers, leaders, workers, fathers, for people surrounded by stress, noise, and conflict. It teaches that peace isn't found in isolation. It's found by training your mind to stay still in the middle of the storm. And that training begins with the little things. Waking up early to reflect, journaling your thoughts before bed, choosing silence over sarcasm when someone frustrates you. These aren't empty rituals. They're workouts for the soul. The mistake most men make is waiting for the fire to prove they can stay cool. But that's not how it works. You prepare in advance. You build rituals that sharpen your focus, deepen your breathing, and strengthen your awareness. Because when pressure hits, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote every day, reflecting on what triggered him, what tested him, and how he could respond better tomorrow. Not because he was weak, but because he wanted to grow stronger. And Epictetus, once a slave, taught that discipline begins not with grand gestures, but with the daily control of thought and emotion. They practiced calm as a habit, not a reaction. So if you want to stop being the man who always loses it when things go wrong, start being the man who prepares before they do. Sit with your discomfort instead of reaching for a distraction. Notice your breath when you're tempted to speak. Reflect at the end of the day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. These aren't small acts. They're your emotional weightlifting. No one's born a stoic. No one wakes up with perfect self-control. But the man who commits, who repeats, who trains, he becomes untouchable. You build that calm like you build anything else. With effort, with practice, with time. So don't wait for the world to test you. Test yourself every day. Because the man who trains his mind in stillness is the man who wins when the noise comes. 4. Let go of what doesn't serve you. You had your whole day mapped out. Wake up early, hit the gym, crush your tasks, and feel on top of everything. Then traffic hits. A meeting gets canceled at the last minute. Your boss drops more work on your plate with zero warning. Suddenly, the plan is wrecked, and frustration builds fast. That tightness in your chest, that heat in your throat, it isn't from the event itself. It's from your resistance to it. You're not angry because things changed. You're angry because you assumed they wouldn't. But the world doesn't care about your schedule. Life doesn't ask your permission before it shifts. And the longer you cling to how you wanted things to go, the more you suffer. That's not weakness. That's attachment. And attachment, left unchecked, becomes a trap. A man who needs everything to go right just to stay calm is a man who will never truly know peace. Letting go isn't giving up. It's recognizing what's not worth holding. It's learning to see the difference between what's actually in your hands and what's already slipping through your fingers, no matter how tightly you grip. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't waste energy on traffic, rude people, or changing plans. They saved their energy for what they could actually shape: their character, their mindset, their response. So when something throws off your day, don't react instantly. Step back, ask yourself, is this in my control? If the answer is no, don't fuel it with your attention. Let it pass like bad weather. You're not ignoring it, you're simply choosing not to drown in it. That's not denial, that's discipline. The mistake most men make is thinking control means forcing things to fit. But real control is about adaptation. Power isn't making the world obey. It's staying calm when it doesn't. That's why Stoicism isn't passive. It's precise. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop wasting care on what cannot be changed. And that shift right there frees your strength for what truly matters. Now picture this. You're in a parking lot. A stranger backs into your car, leaves a dent, then shrugs like it's nothing. You want to erupt. You want justice. But after that first wave of emotion, you pause. You ask yourself, will raging at him fix the dent? Will it make him care? So you do the paperwork. You stay calm. You protect your energy. And you drive away. Not just with a damaged bumper, but with your dignity intact. That's the move. That's the win. Not because you let him off easy, but because you didn't let him take anything more than metal. He doesn't get your peace, your night, or your health. You kept those. Because you let go of what wasn't worth holding. Stoic strength doesn't shout. It doesn't cling. It releases. And in that release, there's real control. So start asking yourself more often, is this mine to hold? If it's not, let it go. Because the man who knows what to carry and what to drop doesn't get angry at every storm. He walks through it calm, clear, and unshaken. And that man, no matter the chaos, remains in control. 5. Turn conflict into a personal test of mastery. You can't avoid conflict. Not if you're alive, working, dealing with people, building something real. Someone will challenge you, misunderstand you, talk down to you, or push your limits. That's just life. But the way most men handle conflict is reactive. They see it as a threat to their pride, a moment to win or prove something. So they tense up, raise their voice, and try to dominate. But in doing so, they miss what conflict really is. It's not a threat to your power. It's a mirror of it. Conflict shows you where you still lose control, where your ego still takes the lead. It exposes where you're still a slave to other people's opinions. And that's exactly why the Stoics treated every confrontation, every insult, every unfair moment, not as a problem, but as practice. They believed life constantly hands you reps, opportunities to strengthen your mind by refusing to be dragged down by the noise. Picture this. You're standing at the counter of a hardware store. You've been waiting patiently while the clerk helps someone else. Then a guy behind you cuts in, waves a receipt, and demands to be served first. He raises his voice. Everyone turns. And there you are, heart racing, jaw tight, ready to explode. But you don't. Instead, you step back internally. You ask yourself, what's actually at risk here? My time, my ego, or my peace? And right there, you choose not to roll over, but to rise above. That's not weakness. That's power with precision. The mistake many men make is thinking calm equals surrender, that not reacting means letting people walk over you. But letting your emotions hijack you? That's giving your power away. The Stoic doesn't avoid the confrontation. He simply doesn't let it control him. He speaks when needed, but not with fire. He speaks with clarity, because he knows the only thing worse than being disrespected is lowering yourself to match that disrespect. The more you see every challenge as a test, not of who's right, but of who's in control, the more unshakable you become. Conflict transforms from a battlefield into a gym. You stop wasting energy on petty arguments. You stop letting small people shrink your world. And instead, you use each moment to grow your strength. That's how Marcus Aurelius lived. He ruled an empire, faced betrayal, war, and politics, yet chose stillness. He didn't chase revenge. He chased integrity, because he understood every interaction was a chance to practice self-mastery, not once in a while, but every single day. And the men who take that approach don't just survive conflict. They walk through it unchanged, untouchable. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, try this. Instead of snapping back, say nothing. Instead of proving a point, protect your energy. Instead of letting their chaos become yours, become the calm they can't touch. Not to look good, not to be liked, but because you've trained yourself to rise above what isn't worth your fall. You're not here to react to every insult. You're here to sharpen your edge. And every moment of conflict is a chance to do exactly that. Respond with control. That's how you win. And every time you do, you prove something far greater than dominance. You prove you've mastered the hardest battlefield of all, yourself. 6. Stay present. Because it's your imagination that makes you angry. It's not the moment itself that triggers you. It's your mind racing 10 steps ahead or spiraling 10 steps behind. You're not mad about what someone said. You're mad about what you think they meant, what might happen next, what it says about you, and what you should have said back. That noise in your head, that's where most of your suffering comes from. And until you learn to stop living in the past or in the future, you'll keep losing control in the only moment that actually matters. Men don't often talk about this, but it happens all the time. You get cut off in traffic. That's 3 seconds of inconvenience. But in your head, you replay it for the next 30 minutes. You imagine confronting the guy, yelling, proving who's boss. You drag that frustration into your next call, your next meeting, even your dinner table. The moment is gone, but your mind chains you to it. And that's how small things turn into heavy burdens, because you never learn to let them go the moment they happen. Stoicism cuts through this mental clutter like a blade. It says you only ever have now. And now, there is no insult, no imagined outcome, no history left to fix. There's only breath, action, and choice. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to snap back to the present. Every time his thoughts wandered, he reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Not tomorrow, not after you win the argument. Right now. The common trap is believing your thoughts are facts. That just because you're thinking it, it must be true. But most of what you react to isn't even real, it's imagined. The Stoics understood this. An untamed mind is the root of unnecessary pain. Your imagination, if left unchecked, will create enemies that don't exist and arguments that never actually happened. Try this. You're about to talk to someone you don't like. Already you're bracing for conflict, expecting disrespect. That tension? It's not from anything they said. It's from the future you already created in your head. Stop. Come back. Be here, in this moment. Maybe they will say something rude. Maybe they won't. Either way, you'll handle it better from a grounded mind than a racing one. This is why mindfulness isn't just spiritual fluff. It's a tactical advantage. It keeps your head clear when your instincts want chaos. You don't need to sit cross-legged for an hour to get it. You just have to notice your breath, your posture, the sounds in the room, the feeling of your feet on the floor. Every time your mind wants to spin stories, you bring it back. You train it like a muscle to stay here. And when you do that, you stop overreacting to things that aren't even happening. You stop reliving what you can't fix. You stop rehearsing what doesn't need to be said. You start responding, not from anxiety, not from fear, but from presence. That's where your calm lives. That's where your power lives. You don't control what has already happened. You don't control what hasn't happened yet. But you do control now. And if you can own now, even for just a few breaths, you're not just practicing stoicism. You're living free. And that kind of strength, no one can take it from you. 7. Drop the weight of resentment before it ages you. Resentment doesn't just poison your mind, it wears your body down. You've seen it. The man who looks tired even when he's rested, who walks heavy even when he carries nothing, who flinches at kindness because he's used to betrayal. That weight isn't physical, it's emotional. And the longer you hold on to anger, blame, and bitterness, the more it eats away at your energy, your clarity, your ability to ever feel light again. Most men don't even notice it happening. They think they've moved on simply because they're silent. But silence isn't healing. And just because you don't talk about it, doesn't mean it's not shaping how you speak, how you trust, how you live. That grudge you've been holding for 5 years, it's sitting on your shoulders now, in your sleep, in how fast you snap when someone barely crosses a line. That's exactly why the Stoics saw forgiveness not as a moral obligation, but as self-preservation. Letting go isn't about making peace with what was done to you. It's about refusing to let it keep owning you. Because every ounce of resentment you hold robs you of peace in the present. And no one deserves that kind of power over your life. Not even the one who wronged you. Epictetus said, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus can get the better of my will." That's what forgiveness really is. Not approval, not forgetting, but refusing to be shackled from the inside. Think of a moment when someone crossed the line. Maybe they lied. Maybe they left. Maybe they embarrassed you in front of others. You told yourself you'd never forget. And maybe you didn't. But every time you think of them, your stomach tightens, your energy drops, your peace leaves. That's not strength. That's self-inflicted punishment. You're reliving what they did long after they've forgotten it. And that's the trap, thinking that holding on protects you, when in reality, it's weakening you. The Stoic doesn't hold anger like armor. He releases it like fire in his hands, because he knows it burns the one who carries it most. Forgiveness doesn't mean trusting them again. It means reclaiming space in your heart for something better, something lighter. And it starts with one choice. Stop feeding the story of what they did. Every time you replay the offense, you reinforce the wound. So stop rehearsing pain. Start protecting your energy. Picture this. You're in the break room. Someone throws a slick comment. You know it's a jab. You could clap back. You could carry it home. Let it replay in your mind until midnight. Or you could smile. Not because you're weak, but because you're done carrying trash that isn't yours. You breathe. You walk out. And you leave the weight behind. That's not passivity. That's power under control. That's knowing what's worth your energy and what isn't. And when you start dropping resentment, you'll feel it. In your posture, in your sleep, in how clear your thoughts become. Forgiveness isn't a favor to them. It's a gift you give to yourself. Let it go. Not for their sake, but so you can stop dragging your past into your present. You've got more life ahead than behind. Make space for it. Because the man who travels light moves faster, breathes deeper, and lives free. And you can be that man, if you're ready to put the weight down. 8. Pause before you react. It changes everything. It happens faster than you think. One sentence, one tone, one offhand remark, and you're already halfway to raising your voice or slamming the door. By the time you even realize you're angry, your reaction has already taken over. That's how most men live, on autopilot, pushed by outside triggers, pulled by inner tension. And in that split second between the spark and the fire, they give away their power. But what if that split second was the place you took it back? Stoicism begins in the pause, the space between what happens and what you do next. That's the battlefield, not the argument, not the insult. The real fight is in that breath, that tiny delay where you choose. Do I react like I always do? Or do I respond like the man I'm trying to become? Most don't even see that space. Their emotions outrun their awareness. But once you start recognizing it, you realize how much control you actually have and how often you've been throwing it away. Let's say you're at home. Your teenage son talks back, again. That tone, that look in his eyes, it stings. You're about to snap, but something holds you. You take one breath. Then you say, I'm going to respond in a minute. That move, right there, that's power. Not silence out of fear, but restraint with purpose. You've just interrupted a cycle that's played out for years in millions of households. And now, you're writing a new one. The mistake is believing that if you don't react fast, you'll lose respect. That hesitation means weakness. But what you gain in those 2 seconds is clarity. You give your brain time to process, to decide, to aim. That's what the Stoics trained for. Not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of timing. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, don't feel. He said, don't act unless it serves the greater good. And that good often starts with silence. We live in a world that rewards fast reactions. Text back now, respond now, defend yourself instantly. But emotional discipline isn't about speed. It's about accuracy. Saying the right thing, at the right time, with the right tone. And you can't do that if you let adrenaline do the talking. You need to stop, to breathe, to name what you're feeling before it becomes something you regret. It doesn't take years of meditation. It takes one choice. When the pressure hits, you pause. You tell yourself, I don't need to react yet. You walk to the other room. You take 10 deep breaths. You ask, what's the outcome I want here? And then, only then, you speak, you move, you act. Not from ego, but from intention. The Stoic man isn't cold. He's clear. He's not slow. He's steady. He doesn't repress what he feels. He commands it. Because in that pause, he sees more. He sees the consequences. He sees the opportunity. And he steps into both with a steady hand. So from this point forward, treat every moment of tension as your training ground. When your heart starts to race, when your face heats up, when your fists want to clench, don't move. Not yet. Let the moment settle. Then decide how to own it. Because the man who masters the pause doesn't just win the argument, he wins himself. And that is a victory worth choosing again and again. Now you know, you are not a prisoner of your emotions. You are not bound to anger, resentment, or the need to react. What the Stoics taught, what men like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus lived, is that calm is not given, it's earned. Self-control is not about denial, it's about discipline. And peace isn't weakness, it's power sharpened in silence. We've explored how anger is a habit that can be unlearned, how real strength comes from mastering yourself, how emotional calm is built like a muscle through small, daily choices. You've seen that letting go is not surrender, it's wisdom. Staying present is the best defense against stress. And that in every moment of tension, you have a window, a pause, where your character is forged. This isn't theory. This is your life. It's in the way you respond to your partner, how you hold your ground in meetings, how you walk away from noise and stand firm in your values. Each moment is a chance to practice. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. This is how you stop being triggered by everything and start becoming untouchable. So I invite you, begin with today. Train your breath, hold your words, master your pause, and build a mind that cannot be shaken by what it cannot control. If this message spoke to you, share your story in the comments. What moment tested you recently? What have you learned from holding back? We learn by reflecting. We grow by helping others do the same. Because in the end, the man who can master himself, his thoughts, his reactions, his energy, is the man who owns his life. And that is the kind of strength that endures.